I'm Kay, and I am here with another 31 days of cut file layout for you guys today, and I was so excited to get started on this layout that I just jumped in without sharing with you guys all the product I'm going to be using. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my alcohol markers and color in this cut file to give it a little bit of personality. I felt like if I just backed the cut file in pretty little colors in all those tiny little areas, that I would still see all of the white sections of this cut file. So to me, it just screamed to be colored at a random. And I picked colors out based off of what most of my cooking layouts come from. And I say that because I've got some cooking photos that I'm actually going to use this with. And I wanted this little shelf to look like a cookbook collection. And so I picked out the yellows and the reds and the aquas in order to get my cookbook shelf to look the way that I wanted it to. So I also picked out colors based off of a collection that's called Delish. I believe it's by Reminisce. So I didn't realize that until after, but I just went randomly to pick out these colors because that is most of the cooking items that I have. These colors are what match most of the colors that I have in my foodie bin, if that makes any sense. So I already knew, which colors I basically needed to do based off of what type of collections I collect, if that makes any sense. So I love the alcohol markers because of the fact that they're not smooth and they're not perfect. So take the gray, for instance. The gray has some highs and lows, even though I use the exact same. If I keep coloring over and over again, then I will get even darker and darker because it soaks into the paper even more. But I didn't want that. And same with this brown. I roughly colored the brown so it had a wood grain effect, even without me trying, just because of the highs and the lows in my coloring, because some spots I colored over it twice because of me going back and forth, and others I just colored the one time, which left it a little bit lighter. So I just love alcohol markers because of that section there. And then I'm going to go through and I have this little scratch piece of paper. I have it down so I can test my blues to make sure that it matches a scrap piece of paper that I have been wanting to use for quite a while. It is just a tone-on-tone piece of paper with a bunch of pots and pans and I think some utensils on it. But I've been wanting to use that, and so I wanted to make sure that at least one blue, the little vase, matched that paper, but other than that, the cookbooks are going to be bright and bold and all over the place. So I'm going to color 2 books in each color. That way I don't have to figure out what colors I want, for every book. I think it's going to help make it match even more, help it look cohesive on my layout if I don't try to go and find a ton of colors. So I'm going to color 2 books red, 2 books yellow, and 2 books aqua, and then of course color what I consider the pages of the red book that's laying down, because all the rest of them are spines, and then the one red book has the pages showing, which I thought was pretty cool. I am using the scrap paper off to the side. I'm not sure if I've said this already, or I probably said it 5 seconds ago. But I'm not really sure if I know what color I need, and I don't have any of my alcohol markers swatched because I just don't think that that's necessary, especially when the more you color, the different it is. And I just don't know how to swatch that unless I have an infinite, blend of a color. So anyways, I am using that little scrap piece of paper to test my colors, especially when it came to this aqua. I wasn't sure if I wanted it to be like an aqua green or an aqua blue or, just a pale blue. I just wasn't sure until I got to this pool party color. But did I want the dark pool party or do I want the light pool party? I mean, there's so many choices and it's not fair in life. Just be there. And then, of course, when I ran out of colors, I decided to pull out this crumb cake color. Now, all of my colors are Stampin' Blends by Stampin' Up. I just really like the fact that you get a light and a dark, and there's no guesswork as to which number you need in the browns for them to match, which I'm assuming, I honestly have never seen a Copa marker except for on a YouTube video, you guys, but I'm assuming all of the colors are relatively close in numbers. Like if you get a red and they're all 438s, then you've got 439 and 440 in the same shade. I don't know that, but I do like the blends because they did all the work for me and there wasn't any numbers or anything like that. And there's actually not that many choices except for when it comes to their blues. They seem to have a lot of blues. But as far as like the greens and the reds, there's not very many. And same with the browns. There's not very many browns to choose from either. So I do like that. And of course, some of mine are drying out. I've had them for several years, especially that yellow was drying out, and they change their colors quite frequently. So I don't know if I can get the same colors back, like if I can continue to get the same colors. All right, so to back my cut file, because, they're just spines, and I wanted them to, I wasn't sure if I was going to write on them or find a little tiny word for each of them. I wasn't sure, and in the end, I decided not to. But I just chose this gray from Close to My Heart, and I'm going to end up using the dark side for my book spines, but then I use the light side for my vase and for the aqua book with the diamonds. I used that as well. Now it's very subtle. You really can't tell that I flipped it, but I do like that variation that it is there, even though you can't really tell. It's okay. I can. So I'm going to finish up backing my cut file really quickly. The photos that I have chosen, I actually chose them. I was going through my phone and I just typed in the word book, and I was trying to find photos because I know when I get a reading photo or a book photo of my kids, I scrapbook it right away. It's one of those that I just get excited to scrapbook about, and I already have a ton of embellishments about reading and just one more chapter, all of those good things. And so I do end up getting those photos scrapped right away. So I had to go into my phone and look for a photo. And like I said, I typed in the word book, and all sorts of photos came up, especially the Christmas ones, because our photos are all in front of a bookcase that is in our home. It takes up one whole wall of our home. So I had to scroll through quite a bit of Christmas layouts. Here's where I'm showing you guys the papers. Again, it's the Delish collection. I believe it said it was by Reminisce, but it could be by Paper House. Now I'm not so sure, you guys. Let me see if I can't see it. It is by Paper House. I apologize about that. But anyways, when I was scrolling past all the Christmas photos, I came across a couple screenshots that I took. I took some pictures of some recipes that my son picked out right before I was headed on a retreat. Again, this is the same retreat where our kitchen flooded. But before it flooded, I was able to FaceTime my son, my youngest son, and help him make these recipes over the phone. So I took a screenshot and I was looking at the recipe while he was FaceTiming me and sharing with me, does this look good? Does this look blended? Does this look so on and so forth? And I thought it was just the neatest little thing because it worked. Like all of his recipes turned out really good. He did really good cooking on his own, but yet I was just kind of there to supervise because what could I do in a totally different state, right? But I just thought it was kind of cool because, like, what would we have done back in the day? Did we pre-make the recipes and hope the kids ate them? Like, what would you have done? I have no idea, but I was super excited for this type of technology for me to help, still be there to cook with my kids and whatnot. And so I have the pictures of all of the recipes, but I only took a screenshot of the first recipe, which is that the baked chili recipe. And so it's the recipe in the background, and then there's my son's photo up at the top, like he was grabbing the phone to flip it around and show me what he was doing. And then the other two recipes that are going to be underneath the flip flaps are the other two recipes that we cooked together. And so I just didn't take pictures of that, which would be fine. I don't think that this needed a 2-page layout, in all honesty, but it definitely was fun. Also, on the side of my phones, when my phone, on the underside of my son's photo, I have a picture, or I have a journaling card. So that way I can journal about, these photos and what was going on and why they're so random. And then, of course, on the underside of the chili recipe, I have another recipe because I was gone for quite some time during his turn to cook. I also had some pre-cut images out, like a shelf with all the spices on it. This plate that doesn't really look like a plate to me. I was struggling using it, but it had the silverware off to the side, and so I just decided to use the silverware. I picked out a ton of embellishments from Some Assemblage Required. I picked out the little pots, the homemade title, which I'm not using the hearts, but I am using the word recipes, which was a wooden piece all by itself. And then the oven mitt comes with this oven and then a couple baking supplies, more like cookie making supplies, a pot with flour and eggs, and what's that little bag called where you put the frosting in and squeeze it on out? So anyways, it's got one of those in there too. So I just decided I wanted to use the oven and the oven mitt because most of these recipes are for the oven. So I thought that it worked really well. I definitely wanted to decorate my son's photo because it's got a bunch of black spaces above and below just because of the way that I took the photo. It was the type of photo, but I didn't want to cut down the bottom half, although I probably could have and shown more of these recipe cards. Now, these recipe cards are by Kaiser Craft from a collection that they did several years ago. I can't even remember the name of the collection, but I do have quite a few pieces left over from this collection. But I love using the recipe cards because they're the perfect red for all of my collections. And it gives me that Pioneer Woman-esque feel that I go for all my cooking related photos. At least I try to do that type. Sometimes they're a little bit more softer. Sometimes I find a collection that I absolutely love, and so I deviate from that feel. But other times it's always the Pioneer Woman colors. I just love those colors, that color combination, the red and the yellow and the blue, and it's just beautiful. So here I'm showing you guys what this cluster down over on the bottom right will look like with the photo on top. And then I am trying to finish off the cluster for my son's photo. And I decided to have the oven mitt hanging from a piece of twine. And then I'm going to have a pot that looks like it's hanging as well, but because it's a sticker and there wasn't a hole and I didn't want to rip it, I went ahead and just put a glue dot behind the knot for the oven mitt and then, attached it to the little sticker. And then I'm going to add a little wooden spoon down at the bottom because that's what we use to cook our dishes with, but then we use a metal spoon to serve them with. And then last but not least, I have a couple of these faux brads from the, what was that collection called? From Simple Stories, the lemon collection. Lemon twist, lemon citrus twist, lemon twist. I'm not really sure. But they were just these perfect colored brads. So I decided to add those to the collection. I did have to bend my acrylic piece that says homemade to go around the word recipes because they're too thick to go on top of each other. But I just gave it a slight little bend and it worked out perfectly. So, and then I cut apart a little round sticker for salt and pepper so I could put that on my shelf. And that is my layout for today. I really did enjoy using it. I do like that pop of blue on the side panel. And I cut a sticker in half that said something I don't really remember, but I do like that addition of that khaki on there. So the photos I took are with the actual pictures that this layout was built off of on top. And then I was trying to share with you guys what it would look like when you flip the flaps up. And you'll see underneath them. So anyways, that is the layout for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Please be sure to check out the 2 links down below. One is the Facebook group and the other one is for the playlist here on YouTube. Also, too, don't forget to check out Janet Fritz's channel to see how she is using her amazing little shelf. And I will check y'all later. Thanks, guys. Bye.